This is the first of a weekly physical media roundup, which is going to be essentially, hopefully, UK centric, but also is going to include information that is relevant to the UK for importing and potentially indicating what is on the way for us later if it's coming from another country. And normally these will be quite short, I hope, but this one is setting a little bit of a baseline, being the first one, so you'll have seen how long it is from before you started watching the video. So anyway, we shall minimise that and get on with it, starting with the UK news for 88 Films, who have finally pinned down the exact extras, etc. for Amazonia, the Catherine Miles story. So that's coming out in September, and anyone who's thinking of getting that or who's already ordered it can do a double check on that now for the finalised details. Also, as of today, they've made some new announcements for 4Ks, which are on the way, and those are He-Man, the original, the film called The Gamer, which is a Gerard Butler Death Games sci-fi movie, the Night of the Comet horror, and Death Warrant, the Jean-Claude Van Damme release. So those are all coming from 88 Films on 4K in, I believe, November announcements. Yeah. Moving on to Screenbound, they've got an interesting to some release of a combo called Glastonbury Fair, which is a documentary about the early years of the Glastonbury Festival. That's limited to 1,000 copies, and it's coming out on the 7th of September for $29.99, with lots of new interviews, commentary, making of, poster, etc. Moving on to Indicator, they have announced 2 4Ks coming up, both Australian movies. Those are Romper Stomper and Turkey Shoot, where Turkey Shoot has 2 versions of the movie, the extended or the long full Australian cut and the more usual, much 13-minute shorter normal release that we've seen before. These both are taken from new 4K scans of the original negatives, so expect those to be impressive. However, I will mention as an aside that because of the announcement of this upcoming 4K for Romper Stomper, the present Blu-ray for Romper Stomper, which is out from 88 Films, is available direct from 88 Films, or I've been informed by email from Amazon for only £2. So absolute bargain there if you don't have Romper Stomper and you're interested in it, either in adding it to your collection or to preview it before considering whether or not the 4K is going to be worth extra for paying out on. Right, moving on to the Arrow releases. First of all, we have obviously the upcoming Better Tomorrow trilogy, the next in the Golden Harvest releases that Arrow have been doing such a fantastic job of in the UK after they've licensed them from Shout in the US. I think everyone who's interested has probably had that one on their order list or wish list for a long time, but it has to be mentioned here, like I said, baselining what's coming up pretty soon. Following on from that, they've also announced that they've got releases of Last Boy Scout on 4K. That'll be the first time that's come out on that quality of material. Really looking forward to that one myself. And the Monster Squad, so that'll be the first time there's a 4K in the UK for that one. There has been a US 4K for quite some time, and I never thought we were going to get one in the UK, but now we've got an Arrow coming up, so whether or not I'm going to have to double dip because of Arrow's fantastic extras, we shall see. However, the US one, I will say, does have plenty of extras at present. Moving on from Monster Squad in order, I believe the next one after that is Stephen King's Cujo is going to be getting a 4K, and then on to The Frighteners, and I believe that's the same day as they're releasing Chinese Ghost Story Trilogy, which has not been released in this country before, though I believe the imports you get do have a similar English dub for Chinese Ghost Story 1 and 2, and this new Arrow release is not getting a dub on Chinese Ghost Story 3, so if you already have Chinese Ghost Story, then you probably won't need these new ones from Arrow unless you want a specific upgrade in other ways. Right, on to international news, and that's starting off with Disney 20th Century Catalogue 4K Wave, and they have announced, it's very exciting for me, that there's going to be a 30th anniversary 4K for The Rock, which is planned for release before Christmas, so that's particularly long awaited. The only downside or worry concern being that the original VHS and DVD were very well received, and those were done by Criterion. Since then, the Blu-ray was done by Disney Release Studios, but for the UK, the Blu-ray release did not get the commentary from the Criteria ported over, but it did in the US, so it'll be very interesting to see whether or not they correct that with the 4K, and hopefully they will, because 4Ks tend to be much more worldwide, and that will hopefully mean that we'll get the commentary that was missing from the Blu-ray, and it'll be a full upgrade, not just an upgrade to the picture. It'll also get the upgrade to all the extras we're going to get. Interestingly enough, with those announcements, though there's been no specific dates for The Rock and no other details mentioned, it did appear momentarily on a French website and then disappeared again. But what was interesting is that at the same time it appeared, so did Con Air, Strange Days, Commando and National Treasure. And if those are coming out in a similar pattern, which seems to be indicated by the fact they all appeared together and disappeared at the same time when they appeared on these French websites by accident, that should be something to seriously look forward to, in my opinion. We've also got, for those interested, the US are getting the Dead Poets Society and Mrs. Doubtfire on the end of September, and again those have got no information for them for the UK, but hopefully we won't have to import, and this will be an indication that we will get them just a little bit down the line. Meanwhile, at Lionsgate, big news from them is the film that's just hit the cinemas here, Mutiny, the Jason Statham actioneer, which has got a announcement and available to order here on Amazon US. It's got a lovely steelbook with a pet slip. It's an Amazon exclusive steelbook, and in actual fact it's presently priced lower than the regular 4K. If you're interested in importing that, obviously importing it direct from Amazon, still it doesn't come cheap. Amazon Germany do have one advertised, but you can't order it for the UK yet because they are reserving it, or it's not letting you order if you're outside of Germany. So that's a wait and see game. They also haven't put up images of what the steelbook looks like if you're interested in the steelbook. So we've got the wonderful Amazon exclusive steelbook – that's available for order in America, and also the UK can order it if they want to, and we can see that what that looks like, but it has no release date yet. And in Germany we have a release date which is the 11th of December, and that unfortunately does not have an image of the SteelBook for those who are interested in that, and also you can't order it from the UK yet. So bit of a mix and match at the moment until they start coming out, and who knows, hopefully we'll actually get a SteelBook and 4K announcement very soon for the UK Direct, which will make things a lot easier for everybody. Whether or not it'll be as nice as the US Amazon exclusive, we shall find out when it happens. Meanwhile, at Sony, they've announced the 35th anniversary Hook 4K Steelbook being prepared for late 2026, with no confirmed UK release yet, unfortunately. Viavision down in Australia, they are doing an elaborate release preparation for Time Cop, Jean-Claude Van Damme's seminal science fiction film that brought in heavily, I think, more into the mainstream. And that's got pre-orders opening on 15th of September and is limited to 1,500 copies. They are quite expensive. We're starting off in a similar vein of adding all the bits here, and it's starting off around the £45 mark. But unfortunately, that's £45 before you add the import fees, and the import fees are well above £20, so you are talking 65 plus pounds to import this one directly from Viavision, which is a great shame because it does sound like it's going to be a pretty darn good set. And I believe that they only stop charging postage if you order more than 400 Australian dollars worth of stuff, which equates to about £200 worth of stuff, which means it's over the £135 import limitation for the UK. So you'll get hit with VAT at this end, which you wouldn't do if it's underneath that. So it's a bit of a double whammy, unfortunately, trying to import directly from Viavision Australia, since the Amazon Australia stopped sending to the UK. Finishing off on Severin Films in the US, and they've got a number of 4Ks that they've announced which are quite interesting titles, namely Gwendolyn, Holocaust 2000, Erotic Nights of the Living Dead, plus a 4K and Blu-ray edition of Cherry, Harry and Raquel. The first three that I read out were 4Ks only according to my notes, and unfortunately those also have still no dates. And because Severin, unlike certain companies in the US, doesn't have a one-to-one release company relationship with the UK, in the sense of, well, if such and such releases it in the US, then we just have to wait for this UK company to pick it up, which they will eventually. In Severin Films' case, it doesn't come down to that. It comes down to individual deals being done per film, and what Severin picked up, it could be done by multiple different UK distributors, and therefore it's very difficult to tell if and when, how long they will be coming out after the US releases, or even if they will for an extremely long period of time. So, well, however, we can still hope that they will, and those do sound, well, interesting to some of us, depending on your definition of interesting. Next up, do have a little anime section, and the main news there, I'm sure a lot of people who have ordered them will have been informed by now that the Sailor Moon Steelbooks that were absolutely beautiful, but rather expensive, have been delayed. Mostly they've been pushed back by 2 months. They were expected out at the beginning of either last week or this week, and essentially the vast majority have been pushed back 2 months, but instead of skipping December, they've now actually going to have one at the end of December. So the ones at the end have only been pushed back about a month. So now they're running from October 26 to February 27, and it's the last Monday of the month that those get released. So, however, disappointment there, but at least they seem to be, they're still actually coming, not being cancelled. News from Crunchyroll is specifically actually US news, but it's quite impactful in that their US site, where they are having a subscriber service, has reduced its titles down to only 387, which is a massive reduction, because they have lost rights to a large number, or all specifically, of the Right Stuff's broad catalogue, which might have a knock-on effect in future on the Crunchyroll UK market. But also keep an eye on my upcoming anime saving money video for more information on all sorts of interesting changes that I've noticed in the anime market and the price changes going on therein. So, next up we have the fact that in the UK, back to the UK, we have HMV has actually got a Crunchyroll summer sale on, which the biggest titles are, I would mention, have got to be Suzume, which is highly regarded even by non-anime fans, and the lovely SteelBook Blu-ray for that is now being sold at only $9.99, and the regular Blu-ray is only $4.99. So dipping your toe into a highly regarded anime, that's suddenly become extremely affordable there. They also have the bigger titles for more fans. Those are Psycho Pass Providence at $4.99 and Helsing Ultimate, the complete collection, at only $19.99, which, if you're aware of the price of anime, is very, very good. So, general sales news, or sale and collector news, moving on from anime, though I'm going to go straight back to anime, because I've got, the first thing I will mention is the HMV. I've got the Crunchyroll sale, as I just mentioned. However, the other thing that I should mention has got to be Zavi have got a 15% off SteelBooks 4Ks and box set section, and I've looked through some of these, and some of these are very much worth looking at indeed. Some of the titles are actually very recent ones. For example, included in this 15% off sale are the recent releases of the Eraser SteelBook and even the Eraser SteelBook Collector's Edition. So I'm really regretting paying out full whack for it. There's a very, very wide selection there, some 2,800 titles. But of course I would suggest, as I'm sure any of you would know, that you should always check Zavi's sale price against everybody else's normal price, in case A, it's been matched, or B, that the sale price is not actually much of a sale over anybody else. I discovered that in the reverse, going the other way between Amazon and HMV just the other day, when Amazon had a big 23% off, and I found out that that 23% off meant it was the same price as it was at HMV anyway. So yes, like I said, some of these, however, though, are very, very good prices in this 15% off Zavi sale, and I've taken advantage of it already. So yeah, lots of titles. I'd go and have a look. And finally, I'm just going to wrap up with my thing of the week, which is the segment I get to do for myself, my little preference of what's been happening. And this week it would be normally the announcement of The Rock by the end of the year, because I've been so looking forward and hoping for a 4K edition of The Rock, and unfortunately it's not been around forever until now. And the announcement normally would probably be my, yes, this is it for me. But as it happens, no, I've received some interesting news that isn't like the mainstream news, so you really might not have found out about this one. The sequel to the movie Deathgasm, which is a horror rock movie, which is very, very funny. It was just shot in New Zealand. That received a crowd-funded sequel, and they were expecting to put out the crowd-funded sequel rewards, the discs, etc., that everybody ordered in approximately October 24. I have waited 2 years, and finally, after multiple delays of them saying, well, we had lots of negotiations for streaming and we can't finalise sending anything out whilst we're still in negotiations, they finally released dates so that it's getting a small theatrical appearance in, I believe it's the US, at the beginning of October. Then in the middle of October, the digital code is being sent out to anybody who wants it or ordered it digitally to all over the world. And they've said that it doesn't matter where you are in the world and what the restrictions are, you will get your own digital code mid-October. I believe it's the 13th or 16th. 13th. So that's for those people. And if you ordered anything physical, such as, well, let's think the t-shirts, the soundtrack, the Blu-ray, whatever, those will all be being sent out from the 26th of October. Unfortunately, they're going to take probably a couple of weeks to get here from the US, and I won't get it in time to watch in the Halloween period, the Halloween October month. But my 4K Steelbook of Deathgasm 2 Gormageddon should be on its way before the end of October, and I've waited 2 years for it, and that's why it's Blue Justin's Thing of the Week. And hopefully something on this little bulletin will have interested you or been information for you that you find useful. Like I said, I'm hoping to make these significantly shorter, as I'm only catching up on a week's worth of news each time, and this one was more to set what's coming out in the next month, what's been announced in the last month or so, with a couple of last minute throw-ins such as today's Arrow announcements and the appearance of Mutiny, which has only just got a UK theatrical release and as yet to receive anything from information for the UK physical, but does have elsewhere in the world, as I mentioned. Anyway, I hope this was, like I said, of use to you. If it was, please give the video a thumbs up if it's any use, and that really does help the channel. I will be back weekly, and hopefully you can also subscribe, and therefore you'll get the reminder of when I come back weekly, but I'm hoping to make it the same day each week. So this day, think about it next week, and therefore, and in between those, then I will make announcements on special videos such as the one I mentioned earlier, the saving money on anime, or if you're not really thinking anime is for you, but you wouldn't mind, say, giving it a go if it was dead cheap or even free, then I've got a video coming up for you very soon. Thank you very much, and bye.